one of the things that I learned from Facebook, and it's now very popular in Silicon Valley with most of the fast-growing companies, is that they came up with a metric for capturing this value. So this metric that represents value is the most important metric in the whole company for the companies that have identified it, and it's called a North Star metric. So it's really about looking at when new customers come in and get value, the metric grows. But if I get existing customers to get more value more often, the metric also grows. So it's about coming up with a metric that if you're focused on growing that metric, you'll drive sustainable growth over time. So that can get kind of confusing, so I'll give you some examples of what are some North Star metrics. So for companies like Uber and Lime, so the scooters that you can kind of rent and get around on, or bikes they also have, it's all about trying to drive weekly rides. So in fact, the first head of growth at Uber was previously the head of international growth at Facebook, and the very first thing that he did when he joined Uber was sit down with the CEO of Uber, and he said, we need to figure out a North Star metric. So something that everyone in the whole company is focused on growing, and that's where they came up with weekly rides. And so every day they're reporting how the weekly rides number is growing, and everyone in the company is focused on growing that because they know every time a ride happens, there's value for a rider. Somebody got where they needed to go, and there's also value for a driver. Somebody made some money when they got where they needed to go. So they could look at how many people downloaded the software or the app, but those downloads often don't get used, so maybe there's not value that's happening, or maybe it gets used once and then never again, so there's not that much value that's created. But by focusing on rides, they really get a good indication of how much value is happening every time someone takes an Uber. So for some other companies like Slack and Facebook, they're focused on daily active users. So what they know is the more daily active users there are on Slack and on Facebook, the more people are getting value in those platforms. They're really platforms for connecting people, so their value metric is going to be how many active people are on those platforms. So again, everything they're doing in the business, when they're running experiments, it's all about trying to grow their daily active user number. So some people might be saying, why wouldn't you just look at revenue? Revenue is a good number. It's actually a great number. The problem is that revenue is not always directly correlated with value being delivered. So if value and revenue are going together, then you're going to make the right decisions. But if you have a subscription-based software product, so like SaaS product, and people have bought an annual subscription and they stop using after 1 month, that's going